Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine.
Durfing.
What's up, everybody? You are listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State representative on the College Huddle. I'm your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Fireball Matt Marchesini, because the good chef has a sick kid tonight, so he will not be here. We are also joined tonight by Braiden Turner of the Ain't No Seats podcast, four-time recurring guest, the only guest that we've had who's done every single preview for his team every single year that we've had this podcast. Braiden, it's always a pleasure to have you. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm glad to be back on, Matt. I missed you last time, but I'm glad you're on tonight. I miss Chef, obviously. It's always fun talking ball with him, but I guess we'll have to do it again next year. And hopefully next year, KU will have ended the streak.
That is very much a possibility. It's very much a possibility. I don't like it, but I think it might be a possibility. Before we get into the episode, we do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Auntie May's Parlor, located at 616 North 12th Street. This beer crack is brought to you by Auntie May's Parlor. Once again, located at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville in Manhattan, Kansas. Auntie May's have been in business for 51 years. It's an absolute must-visit destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. And they've got all sorts of events, drinks, anything you could possibly imagine. They probably have it at Auntie May's. Just a quick shout out. They also have their pavers are getting put in that pedestrian mall thing that they're putting in outside of Auntie May's. So the construction is finally nearing an end. Don't worry. They are open. Be sure to check them out. Don't be scared off by the chain link fence and the construction and the pavers, but it's going to be a pretty sick outdoor area that they're going to have once they have that all completed. But check them out. Trivia Smackdown tomorrow night, Wednesday, October 22nd. They've got Augustus is performing Thursday, October 23rd. And we've been building up to this one for a while. Pie and Cocktails with Therapie, Tuesday, October 28th. Be there or don't eat pie, or be square, whatever you want it to be. Last one, Pride in the Parlor, Thursday, October 30th. So be sure to check it out. Be sure to tell Cocaine Willie sent you if you haven't been there yet. And even if you have been there, if it's not your first time, you just want to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you, you can do that as well. You can also buy our koozies, Wildcat Country Let's Ride, in the parlor. So check them out. And that's all I have to say about that. Braiden, it's been a while. It's been a while, but a lot has happened since we last spoke. K-State kind of had a horrible end to the season last year, losing 3 games in the month of November. Start the season with a loss in Ireland. And last time we talked to you, I feel like you were deflated and dejected and maybe at your lowest point as far as KU football is concerned. But things seem to be on the up and up, while things are at least for the time being trending downward for K-State. But maybe things have turned around the last couple of games. But where's your head at with KU football so far this year since we last chatted?
Yeah, obviously excited. Years ago, we were in the dumps, one of the worst teams in the country. So obviously thankful that Leipold and Co are in Lawrence. I know some of our fans don't feel that way because we don't win a lot of close games, but I think the grass isn't always greener. And I feel like if you were to let go of a coach like that, you might just go right back to the bottom again to where we were. So I'm happy to be even a middle of the pack Big 12 team and maybe eventually compete for Big 12 titles. Who knows? I think some years if the schedule can break your way, who knows? I mean, if KU were to somehow beat K-State Saturday, I think their schedule's favorable the rest of the way. You got Oklahoma State next week, which almost feels like a bye. No disrespect to them. And then Arizona. We've randomly been really good against Iowa State 3 years in a row. And then you have a good Utah team, but it's at home. And Utah, I think they can be got by multiple teams in the Big 12, but also a really good team. But yeah, I'm excited, and I think honestly the Saturdays you could make a case for the biggest game of the Leipold era. I mean, we haven't beat you guys in what, 17 years?
16 years. The streak is 16.
Yeah, that's half of my life.
Same.
Um, so I mean, the TCU game on game day a couple years ago, you could probably make a case for, but like I just said, if they were to end the streak and beat K-State, maybe they have a chance to make it to the Big 12 title game. I mean, you got two undefeated teams up top. God, who are the undefeated teams? BYU,
Cincinnati.
yeah, Cincinnati, and that I think if they would have won that Cincinnati game, I would actually be all the way in on making the Big 12 title game. But they're going to need some help. Obviously, the Big 12 will beat up on each other, but I think K-State has looked better recently too. I mean, TCU's not a pushover. That was a 3-point spread in Manhattan, and K-State kind of gave it to them. So, and you guys seem to play fundamental sound ball against us. I think KU finds ways to do silly things on special teams against K-State. Not taking any credit away from you guys, but 2 years ago in Lawrence, you muffed the punt. Last year, you catch a kickoff at the 1 yard line, step out of bounds, safety next play. K-State scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
Let's do it again Saturday.
We've been the ones with the bad track record of special teams this season, like that, and going back to the Houston game, some of the muffed long snaps last year. So it could be a bad on bad special teams matchup, but we'll save that for the caboose. That's going to be at the end of the pod. We'll talk special teams.
I don't like going into that Iowa State game you guys had to start the year. That's just a tough spot because I mean, if it was a coin flip game, really, if that were to happen to Iowa State, maybe their season unravels. Yeah. I'm not saying your guys' is, but like those are two of the best teams in the Big 12. You win that game on a neutral field, you're in a pretty good spot to win or to make it to the Big 12 title game. And you guys, I mean, obviously had a chance last year if you guys won in Ames or whatever, but God, it feels like that game could have went either way. I mean, it kind of came down to Avery on the 4th and 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just that feels like that game doesn't decide your season, but
yeah,
that's a tough way to start the season. Like if that was KU, I feel like I wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah. I mean,
not like losing, but I'm saying just that spot, having to play a really good team, well-coached team in another country that could almost decide making the Big 12 title game or not.
Well, you'll get to do it next year, just in game 3, game 4.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. You went, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Not to bring up bad memories, but I think your tweet was the reason I found out about Avery's family. I was like, he was playing during, and I was just like, I read your tweet. I was like, what? Is he serious? I thought you were just fucking around. No, I was like, well, they just got in a fight, so that's cool.
Yep.
Keep the positive vibes going.
Yeah. I kind of want to dig in a little bit to obviously the Sunflower Showdown as a whole. I mean, this is one of the longest rivalries in football, 123rd meeting between these two schools. KU, it's been a 16-game win streak for K-State. My freshman year was the last time KU won in this game. But it really seems like this game is one that has been circled. I feel like there's a little bit of a different kind of mindset with this game on both sides this year, because I think both teams feel they could either win this game, but both teams are also with the way they've played this year, think they could lose this game. And so I'm just kind of curious, especially from the KU angle, with the bye week this week, and a lot of people are still talking about the Texas Tech stuff, which has been, maybe it's not necessarily a distraction for the team, but I feel like has kind of been, it's been in the college football, like, discussion for the past, 10 days. Do you think some of that distraction is affecting the mindset, not of the necessarily just of the team, but of the fan base of like, we have a big game coming up, but we keep hearing about, Texas Tech, and now that they can't throw tortillas because of this and all this.
Yeah, no, that is a good question because I think it's affecting the fans a little bit. I think it's affecting like our administration. Like it's just been a weird past couple of weeks. Just some guys in the athletic department have been pretty active on social media. Late night, I went to late night. It was kind of weird. I've been to a lot of them in my life, so I'm kind of used to. It's kind of just it's a kid friendly event. So I'm kind of just used to what happens, but a lot of fans weren't happy with the late night turnout. So yeah, there's been some tension like in the athletic department, and obviously it was weird after the Tech game. Like you hear about the knife, and I think I tweeted at someone like, why would Leipold make that up? Like, what does he have to gain? But maybe he did. Like it kind of sounds like he did.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just got wrong information, but supposedly, I mean, our athletic director and whatever just were out of this world mad and made a huge scene in Lubbock. And so, yeah, it's just weird. And I don't really know what's going on, but everyone's pissed off. And yeah, it is kind of annoying to have distractions going into a rivalry game and a game that maybe they could have won the last few years at least once. And they kind of choked down the stretch. That's really the main topic with KU fans right now, as far as the football team goes, is just losing a lot of close games. Last year, they lose UNLV one possession game, Illinois one possession game, TCU, it was tight late. I think I probably was on here melting down about it last year, but so many close games that they lost. Like even Mizzou, they're so much better than us, and their defense is nasty. Hardy's amazing, but they were up 21-6, and then it felt like they made a lot of weird coaching decisions. It feels Leipold to me, like I said, I'm thankful for him. Obviously, every coach is going to have flaws. Even Chiefs fans will get fired up about Andy Reid, who's been unbelievable. But I think Leipold has the tendency to play not to lose instead of playing to win. I think, honestly, Andy Reid kind of has the same thing where he kind of has trouble keeping the foot on the gas.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs have kind of been better at trailing. I mean, all 3 Super Bowls they've won, they've been down 2 scores. So I guess I got to deal with that my whole life with my coaches on my football teams. But
all 3 of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys watched that KU Mizzou game, but if you ask any KU fan, it's like Leipold was doing whatever it took to just go into halftime, killing the clock when they could have scored points. There was a minute left. He was all pissed at the refs because they didn't rule Highshaw out of bounds, which would have taken the clock. So they basically were just conceding the half, but we ended up having to punt it. Mizzou went 85 yards in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like KU had the ball with a minute 30, whatever, and they're trying to go into halftime on the road against a non-con. It's like non-con's important. I feel like we've talked about this, but it doesn't really decide your season anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you were to run the table or lose one game in conference play, make the title game, and if you win that, you're obviously in the playoff. But he plays not to lose. I agree with our fans with that, but yeah, it is frustrating to have other distractions going in this game because it's been so long. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's been the 1-score games late, and we've kind of been in those spots against you guys the last 2 years. So I wonder if that has a mental effect on the players or at least our offense, because our offense has had chances to ice games with a first down, or they've had multiple games where they just need to go get 3 points or get in the end zone, and they don't move the ball or pick up a first down. So I wonder if there's some pressure on the offense and just the team in close games. So, I mean, JD obviously had the ball late against you guys in Manhattan last year and didn't come through. So I wonder if that's in their minds and the coaching staff's minds and the players. So
Yeah, it could be. I want to talk about the offense. So KU's offense currently ranking among the Big 12's best in rushing yards, 214 yards per game, unless that's wrong.
Oh no, I'm trying to think. I
That,
mean,
that
we
may be
played.
that may be wrong. That may be wrong.
No, I'm thinking of we had like negative rushing yards against Mizzou. Tech, their fucking run defense is unreal. But we played Wagner in West Virginia, so
Yeah.
like Le'Shawn Williams had some big games, and JD's pretty good on his legs. So
But K-State defensively, the bye week, maybe it's a reset, maybe it's helping to regain focus, but you're also down a couple of guys, and we lose Tobias and Sami off the edge, was pretty critical on the defensive side of things. But looking at KU's offense, it's kind of the approach here is to stay balanced and avoid being one-dimensional, because if you are one-dimensional, you run into either you're putting the whole game on JD or you're putting the whole game on those two running backs, whether it's Highshaw or Williams. But you look at Jim Zabrowski, first-year offensive coordinator coming in at KU, coming in after Jeff Grimes, which I thought the whole time was a completely, totally uninspiring hire. But how much do you trust the offensive approach of Jim Zabrowski and Kansas's proven balance when it comes to just their offensive approach in general?
yeah, I love Coach C, and I think our personnel does too. I think JD's really comfortable with him. They brought back Lubick. He was with us, went to Nevada, now he's back. So him and Zabrowski, I think our guys are just comfortable with them. The offense just seemed out of whack last year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure JD passed his touchdown. I think he threw like 12 touchdown passes last year. I think he's already at like 16. Yeah. He had like 12 touchdown passes, 10 picks last year. Jeff Grimes is a criminal. Like, that dude is so bad. Wisconsin hired him to be their OC. Like,
insane. They bailed you out. They bailed you out there.
Who's Wisconsin's coach?
Fickle.
Yeah, Luke Fickle. He's on the hot seat, I'm pretty sure. And
yes,
he decides to bring in his savior, Jeff Grimes, to save his job. No,
also, quick correction. KU's rushing game this year, 155 yards per game, not the 214. That was a last year stat. So it's down from last year.
I was like, damn, or better than I thought. No, I'm so pissed about Grimes, and like Devin Neal was unbelievable. You guys watched him, obviously, and NFL running back. He should be getting more reps with the Saints moving forward. But yeah, JD to me, it was tough having crazy expectations for him going into this year because he's dealt with injuries. And last year, obviously, you want to blame Grimes, but in the back of your head, you kind of wonder, like, is JD just not that good? He made a lot of weird decisions. Like I said, our offense wasn't clutch when they needed to be. So going into the season, you couldn't really have crazy high expectations for JD. Even K-State fans have talked about the injury history. Like, everyone's pretty familiar with it. I think teams are trying to poach him out of the portal too. So that's in the back of your mind. And so, like, with that being said, he's been like as good as I ever possibly could have imagined. I'm not saying he's like a Heisman candidate or like a best QB in the Big 12, but there's no way KU fans could have predicted him being this good. He's made great decisions with our O-line really not being that good, and the entire receiving core is brand new. They lost Graham, Skinner, and Arnold, and pretty much every receiver they have is out of the portal besides a couple. Our two biggest threats, Cam Pickett and Emmanuel Henderson, are from the portal, so he had to build a repertoire with those dudes all off season, and supposedly the entire off season he was just putting in work with especially those two. But yeah, JD has been awesome, and you could tell he's more comfortable with the new play callers.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about him. So just for everybody listening, he's been, I think really good this year. 1,800 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, 69% completion percentage. Very nice. So you look at him from 2024 to 2025. I feel like he's made some strides in what's going to be his last season playing college football. He's a guy who's a dual threat guy, able to run the football when he's needing to. But you've talked about some of the mistakes in trying to execute under pressure in certain games. So thinking about, the games you've seen with him this season, is there anything that stands out maybe from his 2024 season, that you think he's improved on, or is there, anything that, is kind of noticeable for you, with how he has played in 2025?
I think he's so much more poised and confident. And I wonder if the injury stuff was in the back of his mind, or where he didn't want to take as many hits, or he didn't want to move the chains with his legs more. But he's been, I mean, I don't know how much KU football you guys have watched, but he's taken some licks, just running the ball. And you got to think about it. Like you just talked about his career coming to an end. Like he knows he has to ball out. Like this is it. I'm not saying he's going to get drafted or whatever, but he's got a chance to make a kind of legacy at KU. Like he hasn't done anything crazy, obviously, and KU hasn't won anything, but talked about how bad KU was, and they don't have a crazy good tradition of quarterbacks. I mean, it's Todd Reesing, Jason Bean, kind of he got some heat, but his last year was awesome, and every KU fan loves Jason Bean now. I think JD, like it's kind of like, how do you want to be remembered? Like, do you want to be a guy that was known to always be hurt, or never won big games, or never like beat your biggest rival? And I'm not hating on JD. I'm just saying this is all the stuff he could do this season. You could take KU to another bowl. You could potentially play in a Big 12 title game, and you could be the QB that ended the streak. Like if JD were to come back this year and he played in like 3 games, whatever, forever people would have been like, God, JD, he could have been so good. Like he was always hurt. What could have been? Now you play a full season. He's on pace for 30 plus passing touchdowns and minimal turnovers. So I think he can become one of the best quarterbacks in school history. And I've never wanted someone to succeed more than him. He's got a lot of heat. I think a lot of people thought he couldn't play through injuries, or just injury prone in general, or I don't know. He's obviously gotten a ton of heat. You guys know that. And I don't think you could ask for much more from him this year. You lose a ton of seniors from last year's team, and he's been an awesome leader too. I think that's another thing to answer your question is his leadership. He's kind of taken all those receivers under his wing. KU has a bunch of young, promising, hopefully QBs that he's taken under his wing too. So I love him, and I hopefully he continues his play, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. So a guy that does have a legacy at KU, Devin Neal, he's got big shoes to fill this season, and Highshaw's a guy that's been around. We kind of, not running back by committee, but he was definitely that change of pace back that we would see from time to time, mixing it in with Devin Neal. So I think coming into the season, a lot of people from the outside looking in thought that Highshaw would kind of take the mantle, similar to with K-State, Joe Jackson taking the mantle from DJ Giddens. But LaShawn Williams is currently the leading rusher for KU. He's got 309 total yards on the season with 5 touchdowns. Great numbers there through 7 games. When you look at Highshaw, he's got 231 with 1 touchdown. So those two guys have combined for 540 yards, but that's really only about half of the total rushing yards that KU's accrued so far through this season. So it's kind of interesting when you look at it. Usually you'd see that those top 2 backs would have a higher percentage of total rushing yards, but it's really been spread out by a number of guys from top to bottom. So it's something that I look at a lot because K-State's rushing defense is 75th in defensive efficiency against the rush. So it's not exactly been our highest point so far this season, but how much do you trust KU's ability in the rushing game to impose its will against K-State? And are we going to see more of a committee kind of approach, or do you think it's going to be one of those two guys kind of carrying the load?
I would say LaShawn gets more of a load. Highshaw's been pretty banged up, and it sounds like even a couple weeks ago, like it sounded like he was just going to be done for the year. I don't know if it was injury
Really?
wise or if he was just done, but like people that cover the team are making it seem like he could potentially just be done for the year. And none of us thought he was coming back for the season. Like it was almost like 100% that he was just gone. He was back in Oklahoma at home. They got Leashon in the portal. We were hoping maybe like a freshman or one of the younger guys stepped up, but getting him back was amazing. Like you talked about it, he's been the back behind Dev for multiple years, and he's shown flashes for sure. So I think he's pretty banged up, and I wouldn't expect him to get a ton of work, but like you said, he has shown flashes. And correct me if I'm wrong, K-State's been a little better against the run lately, right? Or at least against TCU.
For the most part. Yeah.
So secondary's kind of been the issue, right?
Yeah.
They've both been hit or miss.
Yeah.
It's like one game we'll have, we'll give up no rushing yards. And then that same game, like we'll just get gashed through the air. So we never had, I think, all three position groups on the defensive end play at the same clip, like at the same caliber in a single game is not what it's felt like.
And it's kind of hard to judge against Josh Hoover. He's pretty good quarterback. So
Right.
I don't know. He played pretty well against K-State, but I feel like K-State's kind of trending up. Maybe you guys don't agree, but like I said, TCU's no joke to me, and that was supposed to be a really good game. It felt like you guys kind of controlled it for felt like 4 quarters, at least what I watched.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for at least the second, third, and fourth quarter, the first was kind of, both teams didn't score, and the defense I think had it's probably one of its strongest games against TCU, which is good, especially coming off a bye week where you get some guys just to freshen up a little bit and try and get your defensive scheme ready to go. But I mean, I don't think TCU is a pushover by any means. I mean, they had some really good games this season. The Arizona State game that they lost was kind of a tough one for them. But I think for a lot of K-State fans, I think there's definitely more of a nervousness with this game because of how the team has looked, especially on the road through the season. This is a team that has not won a road game since over a year ago at Colorado. And I think, for the high stakes of what this game, means to a lot of people in the state, you want to be able to have a team that you feel confident can go on the road and win. And so, the TCU game at home was obviously great, but this team has some demons right now, trying to win on the road. It'll be interesting.
I've kind of been just sitting here thinking about the games they've lost. It feels like the season could be completely different. We talked about Iowa State, but the game at Arizona was like, I felt like they could have won that game, and the Baylor game was kind of a shootout.
Yeah.
Felt like that. So
it's one-score games.
Those are 3 games away from home.
Yeah, your same complaint about Leipold that KU fans have complained, he loses 1-score games. His record right now, I think, is the same as Chris Kleiman now. Over the last 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're 5-15 in 1-score games through the last 3 or 4 seasons. I forget exactly what the stat was, but they're more comparable than they are different at this point when it comes to the 1-score games, going back to last season with Houston and like Iowa State and all of these. Yeah, it's been not great. There's been a lot of discourse about that the last few weeks, just because, if Leipold has that reputation, that's his one knock right now. And Chris Kleiman's really not all that different when you look at it at face value, at least through the last 3 seasons. So it's been interesting to see that develop. I'll put it that way.
How do you guys feel about Avery in the season he's having? Is he progressing?
It's funny. Like, you could probably ask 10 K-State fans and they're going to have 10 different opinions about Avery. I mean, for me, I'm going to be more kind of on the positive, just because if you look at him statistically, I mean, he's probably going to break the season touchdown passing record this year with the way that he's been playing. He's been very successful through the air. The biggest struggle has been his unwillingness, I guess, to run the football, which I think for us is, he's such a fast player, agile and mobile quarterback. But it just seems like he doesn't have a willingness, or the coaching staff has really kind of pushed this narrative for him to be more of a pocket passer or a guy who's making plays through the air. When in reality, I think one of his biggest strengths is being able to run, or at least, leverage his own read in good situations. But I mean, this season, he's at 13 touchdown passes right now overall. Our record, I think, is 25 in a year. So, he's looking like, if he has some pretty strong games, he'll be in good shape there. But but then you ask somebody else and they'll be, very hesitant about saying, oh, I'm, a fan of Avery because of the pick six that he threw against Baylor that really changed the whole scheme of that game. Or the Iowa State game, not being aggressive on that 4th and 1, to do everything he can to get that first down. The Arizona game was probably one of the worst games of his career, passing the football. So, you can probably ask different people. I'm more of a guy that is he's really put it out there that, I feel like he's improved as a passer. He does have better weapons on the outside this year compared to previous seasons. But I mean, he's shown a lot. I think I just wish he did run the football a little bit more.
That's why I wonder if it's one of those things where they know it's a long season and if they don't trust the QBs behind him, if he were to go down, they'd be screwed. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe the Iowa State game, it felt like, if he just head down, run through someone, he gets the first down, maybe a little fragile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chris Kleiman went on
he's
a press
fast
conference.
He's so fast.
Chris Kleiman went on a press conference and basically said as much of it. It's not that they don't trust the guys behind him. He didn't outwardly say that, but he said it's a long season and we don't want Avery to get hurt, which there's validity to that. And there's not. I think he's kind of a scrawny guy. He's not built kind of the way even Jalon is. And even Jalon's had a lot of his injury history because he's put his shoulder down and he's not afraid to barrel into a guy. Avery doesn't even have that kind of muscle mass that Jalon has. So maybe he does have potential to get hurt more, but he hasn't gotten hurt, and we've got a tremendous track record of quarterbacks getting hurt, and he's so far been pretty much healthy the entire time, with the exception of a little stint last year.
Maybe it needs to be one of those things, though, where when the moment is really big, they do need to trust him on his legs. Like that Iowa State play, that's the ball game right there. Whatever it takes to get 1 yard. But who does that? Who threw 25 touchdowns in a year for you guys?
Avery did last year. He threw 25.
Oh, so he has the record?
Yeah.
Been broken 2 years in a row. So it was Will Howard with 24. He tied the record. And prior to
Snyder had a bunch of running quarterbacks. I mean, it was Bishop, and then
Roberson.
Beasley was there.
Yeah.
Roberson ran a lot.
Yeah. I mean, back then too, I think college football obviously has changed so much, even, obviously in his first tenure, but then even, his second where he had Colin Klein, and, Colin Klein was not throwing the football as much as he was kind of running it. And, it's definitely a different era, obviously, but, the fact of the matter is, for a dual threat quarterback, I think to be successful, you truly, if you recruit a quarterback as a dual threat quarterback, you have to leverage both of those threats. And I think we've seen it, across, at least on our side, Avery, we see his strength running the football, but this year he's definitely, whether he's being coached to be more of a passer, we have no idea, but just seems like there's more of an effort on the passing side, which has caught us, I think, a little bit off guard.
Do you guys miss Colin Klein?
Oh, without a doubt. And see what he's doing.
I forget what game. Oh, it was the Arizona game, which, you talked about Avery, but it felt like the play calling was terrible. against Arizona. So I didn't know where you guys are with the offensive play callers, but I feel like maybe sometimes they don't utilize Avery's strengths.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me,
I mean, yeah.
it's just for me, it's consistency. And we've seen Matt Wells execute in that Baylor game, what, 280, 90 plus yard drives. But then you get the ball back on two separate takeaways and you don't capitalize on either of those takeaways with a score. I think one of them you went 3 and out, and then the other one, I forget what happened, but you didn't score on it at all. So if you're unable to consistently get points on the board during those drives, it's frustrating to see that, because what good is turnover margin and being positive through 4 games if you're only 3-1 in those games? It's frustrating to see that. So anyway, we could talk K-State all day. I do want to keep talking about KU, because this is a team that maybe I'll be honest, I've only really gotten to see, I think, two KU games all season. So Matt, you want to ask about the receiving game?
Yeah, I just quickly. So for K-State fans who may not know, so kind of the big name out of the portal that KU got was Emmanuel Henderson, coming from Alabama, and he's been one of those kind of top guys at the wide receiver position. And then you have a tight end who's been pretty good this year, and Bowen, I can't pronounce it. Bowden Grown.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. But in some of the games that I've watched for KU, I mean, it seems like the tight end position's being utilized. I mean, similarly, you guys have had some pretty good tight ends come through the past handful of years. But overall, like a really kind of good stat, I would say, you have 7 different guys on the roster who have caught a touchdown pass this year. So you do show that you have some depth in the wide receiver and tight end positions. So thinking about it from the KU side, I mean, you had some really good, wide receivers, especially last year and here in past years. So about the ones you have this year, I mean, give us a little bit of insight as to maybe who are the impact players that are going to be catching a lot of the balls on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously you talked about Emmanuel Henderson from Bama. He's game breaking type receiver. I know he ran the opening kickoff back against Cincy. He had an 80-yard touchdown catch in the same half. Like he's probably as electric and as fast as any wideout in the Big 12. And it'd be awesome to have him pass this year. And then Cam Pickett from Ball State. He started the year off incredibly well, kind of been more silent since, but he's been as reliable as can be. I think the one downside to Emmanuel has been like clutch drops at Mizzou. KU was down, I think, 3 or 4 late in the fourth quarter, and JD threw a beautiful ball to him on the sideline to move the chains on 3rd. Right in his chest, dropped it. Leipold ended up punting, which KU fans are still pissed about, but he's had multiple big drops. Outside of that, he's been awesome. Cam Pickett, super reliable. They got Levi Wentz from Albany. They got another guy out of the portal. I can't even think, but Doug Emelian's been around for a while. Keaton Kubeka's been around. I think he's a sophomore. And yeah, they had Hanukkah, tight end from Iowa State, who out for the season. Feel bad for him, obviously, but I think it's important to have um, guys around for multiple years. So, like continuity. So having these receivers just get some games under their belt, and then next year, obviously, I don't know who the quarterback will be, but continuity is super important. I feel like in college football, and I was very nervous about losing those receivers you talked about. They were here for a while, and our whole receiving crew is brand new, barely have any snaps at the D1 level. So, to me, Emmanuel Henderson's probably the most electric receiver we've had in close to a decade. He's not like insanely polished route runner, like can't miss prospect yet, but I think he could potentially get to that. Just the way that people around the program talk about him is like one of the most exciting things that I've experienced in a while. I feel like just from a talent standpoint, like KU just doesn't get talent like this. That's just how it is. But to get a guy from Bama is just super exciting in itself. So Yeah, Emmanuel's the type of guy that can change a game one play.
Yeah, we got a guy from Bama this offseason, and then he got arrested in Southeast Kansas after 2 games or something. So, yeah, I
SEK
know what
will
the
get you.
excitement's like. What was
SEK,
that?
man.
Yeah.
SEK.
God, yeah. I don't know what he was doing in that part of the state, but anyway, defensive themes and defensive front. So K-State's offense, when you think about K-State's offense this year, it's a lot about potential. Like they have the potential for Avery to break off a big run, but he hasn't really done that for longer than 25 yards. They've got potential to be loaded and deep and explosive when you have everybody healthy, but we haven't really had everybody healthy. Dylan Edwards has been hurt. Jace Brown has been healthy, but JB Bradley was hurt for a little bit. So we haven't really had everybody be healthy. So there's been a lot about potential. When we talk about KU's defense, where K-State can really be able to exploit defenses is with large chunk plays and explosive offense. When you think about KU, they've really made an emphasis this year of finishing games and closing out opportunities in close contests. So kind of to your point of maybe playing not to lose, we kind of see that play out with the defense a little bit. The team that gets off the field on third down is probably going to be the team that wins this game. The teams that maybe avoid making those mistakes on big plays on defense. How well do you think KU's defense is positioned to make those big stops or force those consequential turnovers? That might be the key to what I think will probably be a pretty close matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the thing I like the most about KU's defense is their depth at defensive tackle. I think they got guys that have been around for multiple years, but we've been getting gashed on the ground lately. I mean, UCF got us. Texas Tech is a wagon, but they ran for like 400 yards. Cincinnati had 600 plus yards of offense. I know they're undefeated, but KU scored close to 40 and were pretty much perfect on offense besides a fumble at the inch-yard line and still somehow lost. So I just don't have a ton of faith in the defense. Like, they do have some talent. They got some guys that have played D1 snaps at other schools. Trey Lathan from West Virginia, Bengali Kamara from South Carolina. And then I talked about the D tackles. I think downside is our pass rushers. We just have no DNs that have any juice. Like, we can't get after the quarterback, and giving a guy like Avery that much time is kind of disaster because of how good he is on his legs and how due he is to break some runs here soon. So if they could somehow get pressure against him, would be awesome, but they don't really have pass rushing juice. Solid D tackles and D tackle depth, but I worry about us. I do worry about us giving up big chunk plays like you talked about.
Well, hopefully K-State will get a couple of those, but I I doubt it. No, I do want to talk a little bit about like from the defensive back kind of position because when I think of KU in kind of recent history, they've had some really solid guys in the defensive backfield. You know, obviously, most recently Kobe Bryant. Which is he on the Seahawks now? Is he in the NFL? I could have swore
there are two Kobe Bryants.
They have
right?
a player, yeah.
Oh, they also have a player named Kobe Bryant. Oh man.
Yeah.
I looked this up because I was watching the Seahawks game and I'm like, wait, that's where he landed. No.
Man. Okay. Well, there goes that talking point. But
I think he signed with Atlanta as an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
I don't even know where he is now. Maybe he's with
Atlanta.
He's still with Atlanta. Okay. With Atlanta, but still, he was a very good. He was a very good player. Obviously,
K-State fan favorite. He loved the social media.
Yeah, don't make me bring up Gavin Potter, but no,
stud.
Yeah, but the secondary has been very good this season. If you think about it, just from an average, only averaging 226 yards, or at least giving up 226 yards per game through the air. And the season low is actually against Texas Tech a couple weeks ago.
Morton got hurt, and then the
yeah,
backup.
Yeah. So, they've kind of had their ups and downs. I mean, what do you think? You've seen K-State this year, and you've seen obviously KU. How do you think the KU defensive backs are going to, fare against a K-State offense, which, you have some pretty good wide receivers, but you also have a pretty good tight end group as well.
Yeah, Jace terrifies me. Like, he's a game-breaking receiver. I love watching him play. He's a really good route runner. Jalon Todd is a stud for KU. That's a guy. Just talking to Kobe and Mello last year, like they had rave reviews about Jalon Todd. He's a sophomore. He'll be around multiple years. Austin Alexander, same class. They got Lyric Rawls from Oklahoma State, safety, who's been pretty solid. So, yeah, I feel good about the secondary. I mean, kind of thinking about it, the only game they really got gashed in is that Cincinnati game, and they just kept running wheel routes. And guys were wide open down the sideline. So I don't know if that was like a personnel thing, but I guess, yeah, thinking about it, our secondary's been solid. Yeah, Jace scares me. Who else? Who's the other guy they got from the portal?
It's
Tibbs?
Jaron Tibbs. Yeah.
Has he been good?
Yeah. He's been good. He had some early season kind of moments with some drops, but he's really shown, here recently when he gets the ball thrown to him, he makes some plays. So he's been pretty good. JB Bradley, was out, but he had a touchdown pass in the TCU game. So that, the wide receivers have been pretty decent, but it's the tight ends that are really getting a lot of play right now.
They still have Oakley at tight end?
Yeah. Yep. Oakley, Will Ancio, Braden Lofton, Lincoln Cure's out there, but he's not a
Jayhawk.
Yeah.
The race for the cure. We've got Leighton and Lincoln, and I don't think either of them are really playing particularly well or getting a ton of snaps so far from what I've seen.
Lincoln had the most snaps in the TCU game he's had all year, but he's getting snaps at a wide receiver. He's not really getting them at tight end. So
and he's a true freshman. That's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah. So I feel like in recent years, maybe, 5-6 years, we haven't necessarily had a tight end a wide receiver group that, has been like super heralded. You have maybe one guy and you got some other guys below who may or may not do anything. But Jace has been hurt. He was hurt. Didn't get a lot of snaps in a few of these games, just dealing with I think it's a toe injury. So just trying to get him back into the groove. If he's at full strength, that'd be obviously a huge plus for us. And kind of seeing what, Tibbs does kind of in a possession receiver role. That's kind of, I think, where his strength lies. But, he's averaging to get about 700 receiving yards this year, which is not terrible by any means.
Yeah, I think it's still about the defense. I guess the last kind of couple of position groups I want to get to is the guys up front. So D-line, linebackers. You mentioned Trey Lathan leading the team in tackles right now. He's also got 1.5 sacks, 3 pass deflections, 1 interception, a fumble recovery, kind of an all-around dude, which is awesome. And then the other guy that really popped out to me was Leroy Harris III at defensive end, 4.5 sacks, 15 tackles, 3 pass deflections. He's 5th in the Big 12 in sacks currently, 1/2 of a sack ahead of Tobio, which Tobio's out for the season now, so he's not going to get a chance to chase him, which is a bummer. But a couple of really solid dudes in that kind of front 6, front 7 that KU has. Just tell me about how they're going to be able to wreak havoc. Like what have you seen in some of these previous games, or have you not seen in some of these previous games with these guys up front and how they're able to wreak havoc or not wreak havoc?
I just think they have a ton of depth on the D-line. I mean, they have Justice Finkley, who hasn't really broke out yet, but transferred from Texas. We talked about Leroy. He was probably, to me, besides Emmanuel, the most hyped player this offseason. I didn't even really know who he was, to be honest. Hadn't heard about him. but that's all people around the program were talking about. So just kind of people talking about who could potentially step up as a pass rusher, and he was the guy. So, yeah, I think he obviously is a name. And then just the defensive tackles, they have Keenan Caldwell, senior, DJ Withers, Tommy Dunn. Like they have a ton of D tackles that can play. So I think their depth could present some challenges. I'm not quite sure how good K-State has been up front. Feels like they've been good up front since I was 1 years old. So I feel like it probably hasn't changed.
I mean, it's that's a good
I don't know if they
question.
have I feel like they usually have NFL linemen up
Yeah,
front, like for sure NFL talent, but
there may be some at some point on this line. You have some young guys that are out there, and you have some guys that have made some strides to get into the starting lineup. We had some people transfer in who haven't necessarily made the impact, that we expected, or George Fitzpatrick, who had a medical, episode at the beginning of the season and hasn't played in any games. He was expected to be a really big kind of cog in this offensive line.
he transferred from a big school, right?
Ohio State, yeah.
Pretty big school.
And he was getting some time there last year. So
shout out to Will Howard for the assist on the recruitment.
Yeah, shout out to Will.
So does he have a chance to play this year?
They talked about originally potentially coming back in the beginning of October, and then there hasn't been much talk since. So that may have something to do with just not being great, and wanting him to be at 100%. Getting back into the swing of things. But the TCU game, I will say, the offensive line I felt played probably one of their best games of the season. Did a really good job of getting, space for Joe Jackson to run the football. Gave Avery some really good, time to make some plays. The offensive line may not necessarily right now have a guy, an NFL guy right now. You have a Cooper Beebe or, this and that, but it's a group that I think has grown in each game, which is important, and could, do a really good job of, kind of limiting some of KU's pass rush, if the TCU game has anything, to say about it.
So if you guys had to pick like a weakness on the offense, would you lean towards the offensive line? Sounds like the receivers are pretty talented.
At the beginning of the season, it was definitely offensive line not seeming to really mesh or gel, but as always, it kind of comes together, at least to a serviceable degree. And I feel like it's looked a lot better in the last game or two, but rushing was probably one of the biggest areas of improvement through the first few games. But then Joe Jackson this last game had 110 yards rushing the ball. So career high for him. So I think the biggest thing is, again, it comes back to consistency. One of the biggest glaring flaws on this offense is consistency. It's consistency with play calling, and it's consistency with execution.
Yeah. I think we could pick a position group, but I think the biggest issue we've had this season has been the coaching on the offensive side. Matt Wells, kind of taking over play calling duties, and, there has been a lot of inconsistency with how he calls games. You could talk the TCU game, in the first quarter, we had 3 drives that went past, into TCU territory and left with 0 points. And some of that's execution with penalties. Some of that is, can be talked about, maybe a little bit of play calling, but the rest of the game, was pretty solid, and at least, gave him a little bit of positive. But, the games we've played on the road, I feel like have been our worst play called games that we've had. And so, yeah. So if it gives you any hope, if you see Blake Barnett coming in, our backup quarterback,
he does that.
There was a couple games, or 2 or 3 games where he was bringing in, Blake in certain situations, which didn't necessarily turn out super well. So other than the first drive of the UCF game, which we did win, but I think the TCU game, for as much as it was a win, it showed a little bit more consistency across, all the different, phases. And Matt Wells, I think, is just going to have to continue to kind of build on that and using Avery in the right ways to be successful and drives with points. That's very key.
I'm not trying to like interview you guys,
No,
I'm not crazy familiar with K-State. Like I don't sit there and watch every game, every drive. So what about on the defensive side? If you had to pick whether it's D-line, linebackers, or defensive backs, what if you had to pick a weakness, what would it be?
Right now, I would say it's depth up front, depth of the defensive line, because it's with Toby O getting hurt. I mean, Ryan Davis was hurt for a good chunk of the beginning of the season. We've started to see some more of him, but Malcolm Alcorn Crowder's kind of become one of our best guys up front, which is a guy who we kind of took a flyer on with JUCO and didn't really know if he would pan out, but that's a group that's been a little lackluster. I know the DBs have gone through their feast or famine, so to speak. I feel like some games they're great and some games they're just non-existent. So again, it's a lot of inconsistency with that position group. But I mean, linebacker kind of across the board, I feel like has been solid. Like I don't feel like they've lost us any games so far necessarily. Whereas that maybe couldn't be said for defensive line and DBs, but I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, the secondary, I think, is the past two games, TCU Baylor, which you have two kind of high-powered quarterbacks in those games. I think a lot of teams would be giving up a good amount of yards, but Sawyer Robinson throws it for 345 yards against us, and Michael Trigg, who is going to be playing, on Sundays easily, hopefully maybe for the Chiefs, but you never know. He had 150, receiving yards, and Hoover had 376, passing yards last week.
Which I think was a season low for Hoover, for whatever that's worth. Not that that's,
those are two of the better QBs in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. So, those are hard guys to scheme against. And that if you're going to be in situations where, you get one-on-one coverage against some of these, receivers, those are really good quarterbacks that are going to take advantage of that. So for me, the secondary, has kind of continued to be just a really big struggle, I think, on the defensive side. You have some guys who do have talent. I think they're just trying to still put together the scheme and making things work. But, in the safety position, Gunnar Maldonado is an Arizona transfer that was injured at the beginning of the year. He's at full strength. He's had, a couple of his best games have been the last two games. And so, having a guy like that back with BJ there who, is been hit or miss this year for sure. But the secondary is a tough one. I mean, I think if Jalon, can really, see some of his guys, and if Emmanuel Henderson can get open, you get, the explosive play, I think, is going to be there. It's just, can you find it? It really is. Because that has been the thing that has really killed us. We saw it against TCU. I mean, it was in, late game situation, but, 85-yard touchdown pass, that's stuff that you really can't do. If you're, even if the game's at hand, you don't want to be giving up stuff like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of explosive plays and explosive situations that can change the game, special teams, both KU and K-State have had returns for touchdowns this year, which, with how bad the special teams has looked for maybe both teams, for you in the Sunflower Showdown, for us in virtually every game this season, except for one, there have been a lot of really downsides to both special teams units as well, in addition to the bright spots of the kick returns that we've seen for touchdowns or punt returns for touchdowns. But I guess with this being a phase of the game that has decided so many games for you in this series and for us in the first 7 games of this season, how many special teams errors are going to occur in this game, and who will commit the most?
I got Kansas with 6, K-State with 0. No, our special teams has been really solid. It's our kicker. I mean, it's probably the best kicker we've had in decades. Laith Marjan, and then solid punter. Obviously, Emmanuel Henderson is electric as a returner as anyone in the league. So I'm almost to the point where I just almost hope K-State doesn't have to punt because we will muff it. I've just watched it every year. I guess last year maybe not, but for some reason we caught a kickoff at the 1 yard line instead of just letting it go out of bounds.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, K-State, I feel like has prided themselves special teams U for a long time. So that always worries me in this game. Hopefully it's not a mental thing, which I wouldn't think it would be. It's kind of a new roster. They've lost a lot of seniors, especially after last season. So yeah, it's always a big deal in this game. So hopefully they don't do the same stupid things they usually do in this game.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting because K-State just has not necessarily been very good with special teams. Outside of our field goal kicker has been really, really good. All right. What's your prediction for the game? I mean, I kind of knowing, what you're hearing about K-State, what you know about KU, you think about, 16. Is it 17 for K-State, or is the number going back to 0?
Funny thing, before I came on, I knew you guys were going to ask me this. And in the most serious way ever, I was like, I'm not picking KU. Like, until we beat them, I'm not picking KU. Like, until I see it, I'm not going to do it. But I am. I'm picking KU to win this game. I can't believe it. I've done a bit all year where I'm like, we're not winning. So I don't know why you guys are going to watch it. Like, we can't beat them. We will never beat them until I die. And I'm picking them on a K-State podcast, which I don't think I've picked KU on here yet. Maybe I have.
I don't think you have. No.
I know I picked you guys last year and the year before, but I'll go. Do we know the total in the game? I know it's 3-point spread or 2.5. It's got to be 50 something.
I had it up here.
It is 56.5.
I'm going 31-27. Kansas.
Oh my God.
JD 645 passing yards. No,
negative 40 rushing yards.
Yeah, that is the thing. You said pass rush. I would say our weakness is our offensive tackles. So maybe they offset each other, but yeah, I guess I'm taking KU.
Man,
you guys give me a score prediction, or at least how you feel?
Yeah. What's really funny is that I was going to give 31-27 KU. That was my score prediction also. I think it's going to be I don't know. I just I'm very heavy on the fact we haven't won a road game in over a year. And I think this KU team is better than Arizona that we played earlier this year. I think this KU team is better than last year, the Houston team we lost to. I think there's going to be a lot on KU. I feel like this is one of the most attainable K-State games they're going to have, you've probably had in a handful of years. And you can kind of see this wounded animal coming into town, and you're in a position where you can just completely gut it. So I literally, my score prediction is going to be 31-27 KU. I'm going to the game, and Lord knows that I'm going to see it in person. So
I've got 31 for KU too, ironically enough. And I was basing this off of Stats of War, CFB Graphs. He has this game as 31-24 KU based on the advanced stats. And I'm like, well, might as well go with the advanced stats. So I'm going 31-24 KU. And similar to Matt's thoughts, I mean, if it's not going to happen this year, I don't know when it's going to happen.
When is it going to happen?
Definitely not next year, I would say. I would assume Avery's back in
I don't know.
Lawrence or
He'll
in
be
Manhattan.
maybe he'll be in an Ole Miss uniform and we're playing Blake Barnett. I think Avery will be back.
Well,
Um,
I had like family members that were saying they could see him going pro.
I don't think
See him,
he's not there yet. I think he needs
no.
if he like for him, I think he needs another year in college. But I think he's going to stay at K State. I do believe he really enjoys it here. He gets paid pretty damn well as well. And to go into a different situation where you're not guaranteed that you're going to start. I think there's some things there. So, he's going to have a really big game on Saturday. I think he has to show he's the leader on this team, and you bring your team in, and try and win on the road, and just isn't there.
Yeah, and if he's going to go pro, he can't be sliding 2 yards short of the sticks if he is breaking the pocket. He can't be afraid to use his legs in situations where he's able to use his legs. Like, you're a dual threat quarterback. Michael Vick wasn't known as a pocket passer, and it's not to say Avery isn't a good passer. He has his moments. He's obviously shown it on the field, but where NFL teams are really going to want him is if he can be prolific in both phases of the game.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I do. Do you have 2 minutes? I do want to pivot to basketball really quick because I'm genuinely curious because I think this is the first year I mean, obviously I've cheered for K-State for years, long time. I feel like I know nothing about this KU basketball team this year other than Darren Peterson, who for a lot of people listening, number 2 ranked high school prospect. He's going to be a name that's going to, this year you're going to be hearing a lot about him. But I feel like outside of Flory, I don't know much about this KU basketball team. So what is kind of the overall, like, how are KU fans kind of anticipating this season going? And, just with a lot of these guys, I don't know some of these transfers. You got Rosario, who, is now playing in this year, who I feel like people have been, talking about after he reclassified. So, what's kind of the mindset this year for KU basketball?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks outside of DP and who's going to step up and who's going to score it outside of him. And it's a new roster. They lost a ton of guys that had been around for so long. I mean, Hunter was in college for 10 years, DeJuan, KJ. So, yeah, Cole Rosario, to me, outside of DP, has definitely gotten the most hype. El Marco Jackson is back. He was a big recruit 2 years ago, tore his ACL last offseason. So there's question marks with him. Jaden Dawson, they got from Loyola Chicago. They got Trey White from Illinois. Melvin Council from St. Bonaventure. So, yeah, it's a lot of new faces. Like, it's like a pretty much brand new roster. I mean, even Flory's a guy that played like 15, 20 minutes, maybe a game last year. So, I mean, he's still got questions with him. But, yeah, Peterson, I mean, I would assume top 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
How close do you think Self is to hanging it up?
I was like pretty convinced that this would be his last season.
Yeah.
And then you get more health stuff this off season, and then you bring in Jock, who it feels like they're kind of wanting to hand the reins over to.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess, I feel like that is our next head coach, which obviously I'm sure a ton of people feel that way. It just makes sense. A guy that's coached multiple NBA franchises, was really good point guard at KU. I feel like Bill's not a huge fan of the portal.
Yeah.
And just having to re-recruit a roster every year. I feel like you think about it, all those KU teams that Bill's had that have been really good, been guys that have just stuck around for so long. I mean, you think about Devontae, Frank, even the 22 team with Och, CB, J. Will, they were all around for a long time. Dave, Big Dave McCormick. God, he was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I feel like he's thrived off upperclassmen. Like obviously we've had the one and dones because we've gotten big recruits, but some freshmen come in and Bill doesn't trust them at all. He has a short leash with him. Even the transfers that he's gotten out of the pool. I mean, KU fans, we were so excited about AJ Storr, Rylan Griffin, all that last year. Like we finally have wings that can shoot, and Bill just had the quickest leash with them
Yeah.
because they didn't guard. Like they got away with whatever at their previous. Rylan Griffin played for Nate Oates. Like they just
Yeah.
run and gun, give up
Yeah.
100 points. So
Yeah, Bill's
I
really
feel
one
like
of
this
the,
is it, but maybe I'm wrong.
he's one of the last guys left, right? Like Coach K retired, Roy Williams retired, Tony Bennett retired,
Pearl.
Jay Wright retired. Like a lot of those guys that Bruce Weber no longer coaching. I don't know how he would do with NIL. Probably not well.
God.
Probably not well at all.
I hope the FBI investigates Kansas.
Yeah.
Harry.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I-
Jay Wright was a
One of your
crazy one too.
He's on the Big Ten Network, by the way.
Yeah. Jay
Jay
Wright
Wright
was.
retiring was like he won 2 in 3 years. I was like this. I think everyone came to the consensus that he was probably the best in college hoops. Like
Yeah.
Bill,
Tony Bennett won in
Bill was
2019.
consistent, but yeah, Texas Tech.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think from an outsider perspective, I think it like the Big 12 for basketball this year. I mean, you know, there's a lot of names. Obviously, you know, AJ at BYU is going to be, you know, talked about a lot, and you know they still have Richie Saunders. That man, he killed all of our teams at one point. But you know, Houston, Arizona, you know, it seems like KU is kind of under the radar for the Big 12. You know, they're pick 6th in the Big 12 this year. I wonder if a lot of that is going to be good. Like kind of being under, you know, you're not hearing much about these guys, but Self's getting them together to where they can make a run in Big 12 play. I mean, they have a very kind of interesting schedule for sure. A lot of, you know, it's going to be a tough schedule early on.
Yeah, I know our fans are excited about being like kind of under the radar. I mean, there's been multiple teams, even I feel like the last 2 or 3 years where they're preseason one, they have all this hype, and obviously they haven't made it out of the first weekend. I mean, we've made it out of the first weekend like one time since 2018.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like 2020, the COVID year didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Devontae, his senior year, they made the Final Four, and then 19, 21, 23, 24, 25, they didn't make it out of the first weekend with some high seeds. But yeah, they beat Duke last year in Vegas without Hunter Dickinson for the last 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That team had a bunch of hype. And then, yeah, this year it doesn't feel obviously DP, but I think they're Fringe top 20 team. They're like the 19th. So it kind of feels weird as a KU fan. You know, usually we're like top 5, top 10 preseason, but I think our fans are excited about it. But they definitely, to me, seem like they're deeper, more athletic team than they've had the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, to kind of see, you know, how the Big 12 teams do before you hit conference play. And I think they're probably one of the most interesting teams in the Big 12 early on of like, who do they have? You know, for K-State fans, like if you're watching KU, you're going to know Flory, and that's it. If you're listening. So it'll be interesting. Those games obviously will be fun, but basketball season is right around the corner. I mean, it's you know,
NBA tonight.
Yeah. So I'm excited to kind of see
Mizzou on Friday.
Yeah. We playing Mizzou on Friday.
So if you're watching,
Mizzou
do you get the SEC network?
I'll find a way to watch anything.
Yeah, turn on your cats, your Wildcats. Fuck Mizzou.
Who does Mizzou have back?
Yeah, like from the names, I mean, Mark Mitchell.
Mitchell's back.
Yeah, Mitchell's back. I was trying to remember like some of these players that they had
Tamar
last
Bates?
year. No, Bates is not. He graduated.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, some of these names I just don't know. anything about them. So it'll
They've
be.
been pretty electric offensively the last few years.
Yeah, well, they had Caleb Grill, everyone's favorite. Last year he's gone, but Anthony Robinson's back. They're a team that if they're going to win games, they score a lot of points. I think their last season they kind of struggled with on the defensive side.
Who do you guys have? Dude, I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
Is Doug back?
No.
Obi Garuka is returning.
Yeah. PJ Haggerty from Memphis.
Oh God, he can score.
He's a great scorer. All-American last year. That we've kind of hit the international route with a couple players that we think are gonna do some damage. Nate Johnson from Akron, he was Conference Player of the Year last year.
Doug's gone.
Yeah, we did. It was almost. He went to Memphis, so
what?
Kind of a trade. Honestly, I think we turned out better for that, but not a lot of.
It felt like he was just so hit or miss last year.
He had some good games. He had some misses, but
him and Coleman just didn't seem like they were very locked in to me.
But it seems like the guys that they've brought in, every coach is going to talk a big game, prior to the season about their team. But it does seem a little bit different this year. It seems like the team's a little more, together with what they need to do. And I think there's potential we could be really good. I think this team will make the NCAA tournament. They're not going to make a splash and be top 3 in Big 12, but they're an NCAA tournament team, which is way better than 4. Yeah, Final Four. Yeah.
Cats.
You never know. Yeah. Say 8 seed.
When we the other guy that's worth mentioning is Abdi Bashir. He was the leader in 3-pointers made last year
in all of NCAA
at Monmouth. So not exactly the best level of competition, but they definitely wanted to get a 3-point shooter, and I think they got him. So,
dude, it's so like this NIL shit is just weird. Like, feels like so many programs are gonna have new rosters every year. It's like free agency.
Yeah,
it's been that way. It's been that way for us every year.
Yeah, I think the bubble burst last year with the NIL amounts. You saw a lot of guys this year that were not getting the same amount. Being out in the portal. So I think they've kind of cut down on that, which is good. But I mean, it's a different game now. For as much as you're going to get good high school players, McDonald's All-Americans, you kind of have to have these guys, that are coming from, these different schools and just, trying to work a roster. I do agree with what you said earlier, though. Like Bill Self, like one of his biggest strengths was having guys in the program for 3-4 years and developing them and making them better. And that is just not the game right now, across, I would say most programs. I mean, maybe outside of like Houston, Houston, but even so, like Uzan came from Oklahoma, like they have work transfers, but it is just completely different. And you wonder if Self is kind of like not checked out, but like, is the NIL era with the transfer portal, like leveraging his strengths of developing players and finding these players and making them better. That is an interesting kind of thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't think he's enjoying it very much.
No.
This could be it. I don't know.
Yeah.
This could be it. Well, you heard it here first. But Braiden, thanks again a ton for coming on tonight. Let the people know where they can find you and plug anything that you've got going on.
Yeah, got to get the Apple reviews back up. We need more 5 stars. Someone ruined your guys' ratings because of me.
Give us a 5-star.
Police brutality. I hate the Fed. Twitter, bturner23. If you want to listen to our podcasts that we don't really record anymore, Ain't No Seats Pod. It's all KU Sports. I'm sure all the listeners that are listening to this will just love it. They love KU, Rock Chalk. That's it. But obviously, I always have fun doing this. Can't believe you guys still have me on every year. It's an honor. I'm blessed. Thank you, God. Andre, I'm pissed, but we'll talk soon. What do you think his score prediction would have been?
K-State's winning. He said
He's already
last week that K-State is gonna dominate. I believe he used that word last week, so he would have actually spelled all three of us really well.
Is he like the optimistic fan all the time, or
no, he's not. He's
Not
probably
yet.
the most optimistic out of all three of us, but I
Right
think the
now, at least.
TCU game really gave him like the thought process that like we're gonna go in and he's probably gonna say like 45-17 or some stupid shit like that. Like that's just who he is. But you could just message him on Twitter, call him out. He'll give you the score prediction. But I'm pretty sure last week he used the words K-State is going to dominate this game.
I love that, dude.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Braiden.
Yep.
That's going to do it for us today. Once again, shout out to Auntie May's. Visit them, 616 North 12th Street. Get a koozie. If you're in Manhattan, be sure to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you. You can also check out our merch store, cocainewillie.com. You can buy that Wildcat Country Let's Ride merch there. Check that out as well. And then finally, we are the K-State representative on the College Huddle, the largest community of fan-driven content in the nation. Check them out at thecollegehuddle.com or follow them on social media at College Huddle. Last but not least, you can follow our show at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, or any other social media site where social media can be found, or follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Matt.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.